I'll ask him create it from this image. You will have these things pre-installed. Why? Because I have done it once. It is doing once and repeating it forever. So depending upon your team dynamics, what you can do, you can have virtual machine, which you can ask Microsoft to give it to you. It will give it to you a virtual machine in whatever language you want, in whatever operating system you want. Your Windows, your Linux, what you name it. So whatever operating system you want, it will give it to you. But if you wanted to build the VM on top of your image, you can do that as well. Essentially, you should know how to build an image first, and then you can build an image and use that image inside your virtual machine. Just remember that. So it's nothing like I have to use a new operating system. I can build it from my own images. Many sizes to choose from. With general purpose and GPU, you have tires inside Azure. Can you see that? So these are the tires which you have. You will be tired of looking at the differences. There are so many tires which are available in Azure. You have a free tire which you can try with 1 GB disk space. You have a shared tire wherein you can share it across different environments. These are the different tires which you have. Your basic, standard, and premium. Depending upon how rich your client is, they would be having one of these tires which they would be using. And each of these tires is again having its own limitations. You see, the basic one has 10 GB, the standard one has 50 GB as disk space, and the premium one has 250 GB as its disk space. There is a lot of noise. Just give me a minute. Yeah, it's better now. So you have multiple tires, and each tire comes with a cost. Depending upon what you see, the price per hour, 4,000 per hour. If at all it's a basic tire. If it's a standard tire, it is 6,610 per hour. So essentially, if you just look at that, if it is 6 dot or 4 dot, it is not 6,000, it is 6 rupees per hour. If you're using it up to this level, but it's not without any apps. You did not even host a single app here. So what is it saying? This is just you bought it. You did not host anything yet. Even without hosting anything, you are being charged. You can just imagine once you start hosting, like a web app or a virtual machine, and in the virtual machine you start using the space in the disk space. You can just imagine what will happen to you once you start using it. Without doing anything, you are being charged. So you can just imagine how costly that affair will be on you as an independent user. If you have a corporate account wherein you can play around, use that. It is recommended not to create a account using your credit card, because sometimes because of immaturity we do mess up, and it's a huge charge which they ask per hour. So that's your tires, and there are different kinds of tires within each tire. In the basic, you have 3 different kinds of basic. B1, B2, B3, and each basic is having its own cost which it is coming from. In the standard, it has its own different standards. In the premium, its own premium. As we said, the container. Whenever you are using the container kind of thing, you have another premium tier which you can use. Isolated, there is another cost which you are paying. Isolated is the most costlier. Why is it costlier? You are saying I don't want my application to be sharing code or sharing space with anyone else. Microsoft says, yeah, we can do that service for you, but you have to shell more. You'll be shelling more. You say 100 rupees per hour just to get a tire. After that, once you start posting, they'll charge you more. App service, we spoke about it. The price per year. And any certificates which you want to upload, which is your SSL certificate. Just see that. SSL certificate, I want my website, if my website name is http:// your website name is by rabbits.com. I just want to apply a SSL certificate. What will applying a SSL certificate do? It will make HTTP to HTTP S. That's what it will do. How much will you pay per year? 4,000 rupees per year. Just to make that yes. That's what is the cost when you are making your website from HTTP to HTTP S. So it's huge costing. For simple requirements, I have to shell out more. So that's why if you are working with a client who is using Azure, you can be sure that he is a rich guy. Azure is all about money. So if a client is using Azure, you can be sure that he is a rich client, and working with him would be good for you. Why? Because your paychecks would be more, and your other benefits would be more. Because essentially only the very rich clients go for Azure kind of a deployment, even though it says theoretically that you can scale up, scale down, and have all the benefits in the cloud. Cloud is not cheap. Cloud comes with a cost. That's the cost you need to share. So usually it would be very huge clients who would be using Azure, big names in the market. So if you are working with a client who is using Azure, you can be sure that he is a rich client because of the plans which they have here. So you can just see that only the rich clients can afford it. Coming back to our discussion. Your configuration option, you can have auto shutdown. I shut it down manually, right? You can go ahead and auto shut it down so that you don't forget it. We can keep on doing it every day. So what will I do in my real-time world? I'll go ahead and configure to auto shut down all the VMs in my cloud each night after 9 o'clock. After 9 o'clock each night, I would ask, I would have a script. I'll write a PowerShell script wherein it will go ahead and shut down all the VMs in my environment. What if you are still working after 9? Typical question, right? So if the script shuts down everything, what if you are working after 9? Restart it. Start it and start working. As simple as that. Because there would be 10 to 20 VMs which are being used by across your team by many people. The script will take care, it will just ignore if you are online or you are using it or something of that sort. It is for the larger benefit. In the night, anyway, I will not use it. So, anyway, my teammates will not use it. Why should I spend money? If your VM is running, they are paying money to the Microsoft people. So, if it is shut down, you are not paying even a rupee. Shut it down services, you need not pay even a rupee for that. That's one of the good things which Microsoft offers. So they will not charge you for that. So what you can do each night, go ahead and shut it down after 9 o'clock, after 8 o'clock. Whoever is still working long hours, they can restart it. And the script will not force them to shut it down. It will just shut down once. If you restart it, essentially you are just still using that particular field. That is what is auto shutdown all about. It is very frequently used. And you can go ahead and configure disks. You can have multiple disks on your VM. It's nothing like only C. You can configure it to have C, D, E, F, and you can configure networking. And what is it that Microsoft says? 99.95. Now it is 99. This was a previous slide. They moved it to 99 at this now. So what are they doing? It is 100% available. I did not say 99.99. It is 100% available. If I go ahead with deploying it as multi-node VM, I cannot say to Microsoft that I will use only one VM in my production for deployment, and it has to be 99.95% available. Microsoft will not agree for that. What Microsoft says, if you want 99.99% availability, please use at least 2 VMs, not 1 VM. And a real-time environment, you will definitely use 2 VMs. We did not even say it. So that's a clause. You should always have more than 1 VM for that availability. It cannot be provided with just one replication level. You should have 2 replication levels. That is, it should be replicated for 2 different regions at least. Moving on, just stressing more on the Azure Container Service. This is the second service which we saw. So containers start and stop in seconds. When do VMs start and stop? What is the time it takes? It takes minutes. You see that there? They start and stop in minutes. The containers, they can start and stop in seconds. That's how fast they are. They are blazingly fast. I don't know how they do that internally. But shutting down a container is just a click. You did a click and it is done. Starting a container, you just do a click and it is done. That's how fast they are. They are pretty fast. And that's why most of the advanced applications now are looking at the container way of deploying, and that's why you see more and more requirements in the market about microservices, Docker, Kubernetes. These are the very frequently heard terms now in the market. Why? Because it has many advantages. So that's the ask from the people around, from the corporate world. So it comes with a container orchestrator. What's an orchestrator? You have multiple orchestrators. What's an orchestrator? This guy, he is the orchestrator. What will he do? He will just swing his hands and he will direct everyone to play the music in a certain way, right? So that's the orchestrator. In the same way, whenever you are deploying a microservices architecture, you can't deploy it these many nodes just like that. You need an orchestrator. Orchestrator, the one who guides these nodes. Without orchestrator, how will you manage it? You need some orchestrator to work with all of these people. There are multiple orchestrators who are available in the market. DCOS, Swarm, Kubernetes. The most famous among them is Kubernetes. It has many advantages when we are working with Kubernetes. Kubernetes is Docker's orchestrator. You use for your container service, you use it as Docker, and to manage Dockers, you use Kubernetes. It's a very famous Docker orchestrator. They go hand in hand. Microsoft Azure provides support for all. not only for the popular guy. They provide support for all kinds of containers, ECOS or Swarm or Kubernetes. Moving on. It runs on both Linux and Windows. That's one of the best advantages working with Docker. We just run Docker. You look at that. So I didn't want to run it and show. Let it, I'll just quit. I'll not run it now. To see that, close. To see this option, you see this option here, switch to Linux. Why is it showing switch to Linux? Because the container which I have on my machine is a Windows container. What I'm running is on Windows, so it's a Windows container. In Windows itself, I can have a Linux container. That's the beauty of these containers. You can have both the language containers on my machine. So you can use either Linux containers or Windows containers. If I just say quit, close it, quit. It will close by itself. That is what is one of the advantages of running containers. They can run both in Linux and Windows on the same machine. It's nothing like for running a Windows Docker, I need a Windows machine. I can run a Windows Docker on Linux machine. I can run a Linux Docker on Windows machine. So they are pretty efficient and pretty cross-platform. What do you do when you use Docker? You use images. You have multiple images out there on Docker Hub. It's a pretty famous, like GitHub. We have GitHub, right? So it's a Docker Hub. You have multiple images which you can work with when you work with Docker Hub. This is what is the place wherein I can go ahead and search for an image. Let me say IIS. You have Windows IIS image, which is published by Microsoft. It is nothing like a third-party thing, and it is pretty much updated. When did they update it? Just 2 minutes back. So it is pretty decent way of getting the things up and running. Docker is like a platform, and in a platform, I don't have anything installed. I will have all the things installed one at a time. I want to make Docker a Windows Docker. I will go ahead and install this image. It becomes a Windows Docker. I want to make Docker a Linux Docker. I will install Linux. It will become a Linux Docker. So Docker is like a pure platform. You can go ahead and install anything on it and make it that particular Docker. And you will go ahead and build the Docker, and then you will use the Docker to actually go ahead and post your application. So just do some reading around this, because as DevOps engineers, we also work with Dockers. You will just search for, again, your release CI/CD in the CD. It comes in the CD, not in the CI. So as a new pipeline, you see the list of things there. You see Docker, Service Fabric. You can deploy a Docker here. When I'm deploying a Docker, I can go ahead and deploy it using Service Fabric. So that's why we are discussing this and stressing more on this, because this is one of the ways in which I can go ahead and deploy my application. using Docker. Other thing, you can also have Azure Container Registry, and you can create your own Docker using the Azure Container Registry. That's another registry from where you can get images. You have two places where you can get images, one from the Docker Hub or from the Azure Container Registry. We spoke about this slide. We came to this beforehand. Just do some reading around it, around what Docker is and how can you use Docker in your real-time environment. Looking at Azure Container Instances. So these things, again, they are again Docker. Then what's the difference between this Azure Container Service and this Azure Container Instance? You can just have one Docker image or one Docker container application which you want to deploy. Then you go for an instance. Because you just have one, you don't have a cluster. You call it a cluster. You don't have a cluster to be deployed. You just have one simple container which needs to be deployed. You're not that big organization. Then you can go ahead with Docker instance. What is not required? No container orchestrator needed. Why? Orchestrator is when do I need an orchestrator? Like Kubernetes. You have Kubernetes as well here. You see that there? In your Azure DevOps, I can go ahead and deploy it in Kubernetes as well. That's why these are all things which you and we have to know when we are working with Azure. Because these deployments, they go to one or the other service of the Azure. You name a service and it is there. And you can go ahead and deploy your application to Azure Docker or a Kubernetes service or a service fabric, you name it. It will be deployed into multiple things. So you need to have an understanding of what these technologies are and how can I go ahead and leverage it and deploy it to that particular service. So just have an understanding of wherever I'm saying, just read a little bit more about it. Go ahead and read a little bit more about it because we can't cover it here. They are a totally different discussion. They are Azure services and they come under Azure services. I'm just touch base upon all these things just so that you can have some understanding of it. If not no understanding, you will get some understanding of it. So that's your Kubernetes. I don't require Kubernetes orchestrator. Why? Because it's just one instance, right? Why should I manage a one instance using a manager, like an orchestrator? I need not do it. That is why I'll just directly go ahead and use it independently, Azure container instances. Then you have web apps for containers. This is what uses your service fabric kind of an architecture, wherein you can have easy continuous deployment. That is your CD in your CI/CD. You can go ahead and deploy a web app inside a container. So there is a way in which you can deploy a web app inside a container. I'll say web app. You have so many ways in which you can go ahead and deploy a web app. One of the ways is you can deploy it in a container. I can deploy the web app in a container. That's when I use this Azure Web App for Containers service. Again, when I say container, I'm speaking about Docker. So I can deploy my application in Docker and then publish that onto the cloud. That is what I will do using this service. Then speaking about batch processing. So if you want to run a job across many virtual machines, you have many virtual machines which you are using inside your infrastructure, and you want a job, any job, let us say a SQL job or a web job. These two are totally different. Web job is different and a SQL job is different. You have your SQL job or a web job which you want to run on multiple VMs, multiple virtual machines. That's when you can go ahead and use your batch service. That is your Azure batch service. It will go ahead and help you deploy a job across multiple virtual machines. It can scale across machines and it can stage data for your job. So for whatever job you're working on, you can go ahead and deploy that job on multiple virtual machines, and you can have data also staged in those virtual machines. And you can create job pipelines with tasks. What is a pipeline? Whenever I create a pipeline, I have tasks attached with the pipeline. Just think about a pipeline like something which you will build on the fly. And what I do when I'm building a pipeline in Azure is I will go ahead and create tasks. The tasks will stitch with each other and come out to be a pipeline. So what will I do when I'm creating the pipelines is I can go ahead and define multiple tasks which I want to do. Sometimes you just want to do one task in a particular scenario. Like you want to migrate, let me take it this way. You want to migrate a database from one environment to other environment, not database migrate, data migrate. You want to migrate the data because each day there are so many operations happening in my database, and I want to migrate the data from one database to other database after the operations are completed. That would be one task. Once I migrate the data, I want to cross-verify if the migration went fine or not. Just to cross-verify. Because even though it says correct and it doesn't give me errors, the migrate task might not have migrated everything. I want to cross-verify whether the migration happened fine or not. That is what is another task. The other task would be cross-verification, whether everything went fine or not. These are the things which we usually do whenever we are building a pipeline. We will build multiple tasks, and depending upon the number of tasks, that is how huge your pipeline will be. So you will build a pipeline, and you will go ahead and process these tasks. That is what is batch processing. You can go ahead and batch process these tasks across multiple virtual machines. That is also possible using your Azure batch service. Speaking about the most famous of your container service orchestrator is your service fabric. What are the advantages again? It is reliable and it is resilient, and it keeps everything available. Why everything is available? Your application is deployed on 5 nodes. When something is deployed on 5 nodes, there is no other thought about it. It is always available. I have I have my application every time running, up and running, because it has been deployed on 5 nodes. It keeps everything performant by scaling and performs rolling upgrades. Essentially, whenever you are having upgrade, that's one of the best advantages. It is called rolling upgrade. If I want to upgrade all of these nodes, we'll have a Docker install on it. And each Docker will have your application on it. So I have nodes, and I need to update a node. That is new code. New code has been done. The current release, there are new features which are being released. I will not release it to all the nodes in one go. I will first release it to this guy, to the first node. Once the release is done, I will cross-verify whether everything is fine or not. If everything is fine, I will update the next node. So I will keep on updating nodes after verification. I will verify this, then next node. Verify it, next node, next. It is what is called as rolling upgrade. So I will not upgrade it right away, all the 5 nodes. I will keep a rolling upgrade. That is, I will keep on upgrading one at a time, so that I am sure that my upgrade is going fine across all the nodes. And also I can cross-verify whether everything is looking good or not. So that is what is rolling upgrade. That is what I do whenever I'm working with service fabric. So what can it do? It can run any executable. It can go ahead and give reliable services on your actor-based applications. Like any application is actor-based. Your banking application, it is customer-based, right? So customer is the actor. So actor-based applications, you can orchestrate containers. Production applications require 5 VMs. If at all we are going with a VM kind of deployment, not a Docker kind of deployment, then it also allows you to do that. It will allow you to go ahead and deploy it in a Docker or a VM kind of an environment. So all of that is possible. I think we are close to close. So do you have any questions for me? We have discussed a lot of things. Any questions? If you have, yeah. Someone said something?
So this Azure Service Fabric, it's only in Azure services, or I can use in outside of the Azure environment as well.
Your voice is very feeble. Your mic is not that clear. Can you just adjust it a little bit? I'm able to hear it, but not clear.
Yeah, this Azure Service Fabric. So it's only Azure environment or outside also.
It is only for the Azure environment. You can't use it outside. It is specific to Azure. It is not like an independent service which you can plug it out and use it somewhere else. You can't do that. It is only Azure specific.
So it can perform like a orchestrator, right?
That's right. It is an orchestrator.
In the Azure side. So like Kubernetes and Docker Swarm, it will work like a orchestrator for Azure services.
Yeah, you can use Kubernetes or you can use these are open source kind of an orchestrators. Azure Service Fabric is more proprietary, Microsoft owned. So you can use any of these. Everyone goes ahead and helps you orchestrate your Dockers.
So in the deployments types, you explain like a web app and fabrics and some other things, right? So right. There is another one also there, like blue-green deployments like that.
Yeah.
So we didn't cover
that. We can't cover everything. You just understand that it's not Azure course, Azure DevOps is. Even these things I'm just covering it just for the sake of it. I don't have it in the list of topics because it would be better for you to have more information. I'm just giving you more information. If I keep on speaking, then I have to speak about all these 100 services which it provides. So you have these products, right? There are 100 products which Microsoft provides. Each of these I need to speak about. So it would be very heavy. We can't cover it within the time frame which we have. These are very heavy services. Each service has a purpose. I can't speak about all services, all purposes. It will be very huge kind of a session. So I'm just covering it to the extent which is possible. The remaining, yeah, you just have to just go through it and understand what are the remaining things. But most important things I'm covering. Whatever is the recurring thing. Web app is a recurring thing. Service fabric is a recurring thing. So whatever is recurring, I'm covering.
Abdul, I have a question. So in the coming classes, are we going to get knowledge on Azure ARM templates, like how
no,
the
functionalities? Not ARM templates. We will be going in and deploying using the CI/CD pipeline, not the ARM templates. That's not part of what we are planning to cover.
All right.
Not the Azure Resource Manager. It's a totally different discussion, and I require an Azure subscription for it, and I would be charged for it if I start using it. So I blow up money account with cover that, then I would have to shell out some 20,000 or 30,000 for that. So it's whatever you do with Azure, it's a costly affair. So I need to be careful on touching the Azure part.
Okay, Abdul. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no issues. Any other questions before we close for the day? So if we have more questions, then fine. We'll keep on discussing the other things which we want to cover, and we will look at what else we can do by building the CI/CD pipeline. That's what we will try doing tomorrow, and start exploring more on the CI/CD. Okay. So that's about it for today. Thank you.